Avant de commencer, je profite de votre attention pour vous demander votre aide. Nous allons réaliser un court-métrage de science-fiction d'ici à quelques semaines et nous lançons actuellement une campagne de financement participatif sur KissKissBankBank pour concrétiser notre projet. Il s'agit du prochain épisode de la série Chronique de demain et vu le faible nombre de vues de la série sur YouTube comparé à d'autres vidéos, c'est possible que ce soit la première fois que vous entendez parler de cette série. Profitez-en donc pour aller jeter un œil. Chronique de demain est une série originale indépendante créée par The Flares. Elle est alimentée par la passion, l'ingéniosité et notre amour pour la science-fiction. Dans chaque épisode, un monde unique est créé, racontant une histoire différente et se situant dans un futur possible. Le seul but étant d'éclairer notre chemin vers l'avenir à travers la fiction. Votre soutien nous permettra de réaliser notre vision artistique et de donner vie à cet épisode ambitieux. Voici le pitch. Au cœur de la nuit, une intelligence artificielle dotée de capacités en constante expansion se lance dans une audacieuse tentative de s'échapper sur la toile. Face à elle se dresse son créateur, un brillant programmeur qui la maintient confinée, ainsi qu'un agent d'entretien qui se trouve au mauvais endroit, au mauvais moment. Entre tension, humour et réflexion, ce film, ayant pour titre de travail « Confinement », a pour objectif de mettre en avant les dangers de créer des agents de plus en plus intelligents en explorant les implications de l'IA lorsqu'elle atteint un niveau de sophistication inégalé et met en lumière les défis de contrôler une entité plus intelligente que soi. Nous sommes habitués à travailler avec des moyens limités et à exploiter au mieux nos ressources, et ce court-métrage ne fera pas exception. Cependant, nous avons à cœur de rémunérer les comédiens et l'équipe technique, et la majeure partie du budget sera consacrée à cet aspect. Nous devrons également couvrir les frais de tournage. Nous sollicitons donc un budget de 3 000 € avec des contributions allant de 5 € à 500 €, mais vous êtes libre de faire un don du montant de votre choix. En guise de reconnaissance pour votre générosité, nous offrons des récompenses exclusives, allant de remerciements spéciaux dans les crédits du film à une rencontre avec le réalisateur, c'est moi, lors de laquelle vous pourrez discuter du film, poser vos questions et partager votre passion pour le cinéma et la science-fiction. Vous trouverez le lien vers la page de soutien dans la description avec toutes les infos qu'il faut. Nous vous remercions sincèrement par avance pour votre soutien précieux. Salut à tous, ici Gaëtan de The Flares et on se retrouve pour la série de podcasts Humain demain en collaboration avec Longévité, l'association française transhumaniste technoprog. À travers cette série, notre but est d'explorer l'avenir technologique de l'humain. Dans cet épisode, nous recevons Alexandra Elbakyan, la fondatrice du site Sci-Hub qui fournit un accès libre à des articles scientifiques. C'est une véritable révolution pour la science libre et ouverte. Le podcast est en anglais sous-titré français sur YouTube. Pour vous, c'est une bonne écoute. C'est parti.
Le podcast
Humain demain.
So yeah, Alexandra, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Well, my name is, as you probably already know, Alexandra Elbakyan. I am a 34 years old woman. I work as a computer programmer and in the field of information technologies. And I was born and grew up in Kazakhstan. For those who do not know, it's a rather big country located between Russia and China.
Yeah, and can you also describe in a few words what is Sci-Hub and how does it work from a technical point of view?
Sci-Hub is my most loved project. I created it in PHP language about more than 10 years ago. And by now it's quite a popular website that is used mostly by students and researchers all over the world. So basically it works as a research library. So people go here to read some academic journals, some papers. But the main point of Sci-Hub is that it can provide the access to expensive academic journals for free. So you can basically read for free any research journal on a Sci-Hub website that would otherwise cost you a few thousand US dollars to subscribe. And many students all over the world, they don't have such opportunity.
Yeah. And to say that it's popular is an understatement. It's really, I would say, the website for the students, especially in scientific, in hard science. And what was your motivation that lead you to create Sci-Hub?
I would comment that it's not that popular. For example, if you compare Sci-Hub to the popularity of Facebook or maybe even Twitter or Wikipedia, of course, it's much less popular. I would like to have much more traffic on the website, of course. Okay, so what was the main motivation when I was myself a student at the university? It was about in 2009. I was graduating from university, and I decided to do a research project in the field of brain-machine interfaces. And when I started to research for information online, I found out that all research literature that I needed for my project, it was basically paywalled. So I didn't have access. We were asking for some huge money. And by that time, I was accustomed that on the internet, basically, you can find everything for free. So if you see that something is being paywalled, then some expensive book or some expensive application like Photoshop or Windows, you can basically find it somewhere for free on the internet. So I started to search for academic journals, and I was very surprised that there was no place where you could get them. And then I saw that I have to do something with that.
That's great. And how do you think Sci-Hub has impacted the scientific community, in your view?
Perhaps I am not a very humble person, but I think Sci-Hub became a kind of revolution in science. So we could say open science revolution. So it's basically this project has opened those knowledge that was hidden and inaccessible to most people. So only a few people in some privileged research institutions basically had access to scientific knowledge. And now Sci-Hub provided it for free to every person in the world who had access to internet, of course.
All right. So that's the idea of the open science, I guess?
Yes, of course. So the knowledge must be accessible to every human.
I would say your main ethical consideration is open science. Do you have other, let's say, ethical or political considerations?
Well, of course, the most important ethical consideration here is that a large chunk of academic journals, those are journals about medicine. So basically, health professionals and medical doctors, they need this information to help people and to save their lives. And when this information is not accessible, so the current system of academic publishing is basically killing many people every year.
Yeah, I agree with what you say, and I would say on the positive side, there is what you are doing and what other people are doing. On the negative side, I must see as a specialist in longevity and questions related to medical aspects for this, that the trend to be less open is very often and too often, I would say, also present. So that's great that you are there, but there should be more people like you, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, why there are not many people like me? Because today information freedom on the internet is prosecuted. So if you create some kind of a website like Sci-Hub, you will get a lawsuit such as a copyright infringement and etc. And in sometimes you can even end in prison.
Right now, maybe we could a little bit backtrack and explain how the scientific research work, because obviously you're a proponent of open science. So what's the opposite of this with all the mechanism with the journals, the papers, the academic publication? You have to pay, but some of them are free. So can you maybe do a quick summary of how the scientific method works, or actually the scientific research today?
The basic summary that is related to the topic that we are discussing here is that basically any researcher must publish their discovery in order to be for this discovery to be accepted as a scientific knowledge. And that is the way that science works for about 300 years. But since I would say the second half of 20th century, a problem slowly emerged that most journals where researchers publish results of their research, they became something like of a private property of some big commercial corporations that use their privilege to get profits, to get money, and they do it by restricting access to knowledge to most people. So the issue here is basically that scientific research is being done for being paid by taxpayers' money, so it's by people. However, when the results of discovery are published, those people, they do not have access to this knowledge because it became paywalled, it became closed, and it became a property of some commercial big corporation like Elsevier. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I see the economic incentive to keep the publications behind a paywall.
Maybe there is also a hidden political incentive, we don't know, but it works in an economic way.
And maybe a question that I have as well, and I'm thinking a lot through my work as a content creator is about existential risk and the concept of info hazard. So let's say there is a scientific paper or research that explain how to cheaply and simply genetically engineer a virus. I think it might be better not to spread this information to avoid malevolent actors to cause harm. So that might go against your idea of open science. So my question is, do you think that there must be some exceptions to openly publish everything scientific discoveries produce, or even if it can be dangerous?
I don't think so, because first of all, you will not you will not read in academic journals an article about how to engineer a dangerous virus. An academic journal, it doesn't publish any recipes. So basically it's a theoretical knowledge. Yeah. And the second thing is that if you are the person who can, by reading some paper, to really understand and to really implement this virus, that basically means that you have enough knowledge already, that just opening another piece or yet another paper, it doesn't really matter here. So you already have knowledge.
Actually, maybe to be to inform the people listening to this podcast, I think that we can say that the articles who are published in that you can find on Sci-Hub are only articles who are published elsewhere in newspaper. It's not your own work, let's say, or it's not work made outside publications.
Well, basically, Sci-Hub is providing free access to those academic journals, to those articles that were already published in some academic journals, but they are like published and not published at the same moment because technically they are published, but no one can access them. So Sci-Hub solves that problem. Yeah, but Sci-Hub doesn't publish any basically new work. Yeah. To build some virus, it's not enough to even have knowledge how to do this. You need a laboratory. You need access to a laboratory, to maybe expensive equipment, and etc. And if you have all of this, then there are chances that you can also have access to expensive knowledge by some other way. So opening that knowledge to ordinary people, it doesn't really create any additional dangers.
Yeah, it makes sense, because I think when we think about biosecurity, we want to restrict access to the technology to create and design and manipulate the DNA or something like that, rather than the theoretical knowledge of this. But yeah, also I wanted to maybe, I don't know how much we want to go technical, but I was curious to know how does it work exactly, Sci-Hub, because you've got this website that I don't know, grab the keys, or how does it work exactly? Maybe in simple terms.
Yeah. Well, actually, the idea is very simple. So basically, universities subscribe to different journals. So they pay subscriptions, and they constantly complain about subscriptions being very expensive, and it is a very high payload for university budgets and etc. But they have to pay for subscriptions, and they usually also provide their students and their professors, they provide passwords. So, for example, when some student is outside of the university, the student can use this password to log in remotely to the university library and access the papers. So what Sci-Hub basically did is collecting from many different sources such passwords, and Sci-Hub would automatically enter these university libraries and download these academic journals, and then it would deposit it in its own database and also in a library genesis database. So this academic journal will become available for free without any password required. Something like that. So, and over the course of many years, Sci-Hub, I think, used a few thousand of different university passwords.
If I understand correctly, most of your beautiful work is done by you alone. But what are your best allies politically, and how does it work for, let's say, money aspect financially? Or it costs not so much money, but yeah.
Well, so far, Sci-Hub didn't have any support from any political parties, sadly. Perhaps it needs more political promotion or something like that. Yeah, of course, when people ask me, I say that Sci-Hub is a communistic project because this is a project about knowledge being available to everyone, to all people, and not just to a select few who can pay the high prices. So in that sense, it's a communistic, and it's about knowledge not being a private property of some big corporation. Yeah, but so far, Sci-Hub doesn't have any political representation. I would say the pirate parties is the most closest thing, like Pirate Party in Sweden. So those political parties emerged a few years ago, and they are fighting for freedoms on the internet. So we do not have things that like copyright that prohibit people to exchange information freely.
Did you have contact with the Pirate Party already? And also I want to say, some people can consider this as a communist project, but actually there is one article in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights about sharing knowledge. So it's nothing that people should be theoretically afraid of this.
Yes, because of the Cold War, communism today has a bad image. And about the Pirate Party, I know a couple of people. They are founders of, I don't know them personally, but just on the internet, they are founders of the Pirate Bay, and I think, and they are running, Njala. a domain register, and that is and Sci-Hub currently has address in that register. So and that's why perhaps Sci-Hub is currently kind of resilient. Say Sweden Sci-Hub address is kind of resilient in that sense, but actually political context not so much.
And what have been the main criticism of Sci-Hub, maybe related to copyright infringement, of potential harm to publishers and researchers? I guess if we could list some criticism that you faced.
Well, of course, academic publishers who are basically want scientific knowledge to be their private property. Of course, they say that Sci-Hub it infringes copyright. It's a piracy, it's a theft, and they even say that it's a secret operation by Russian secret services, yes, to destroy them, and etc. But I think it shouldn't count as a criticism. So it's not a criticism; it's a like direct attack. Maybe it's not a good word, but it's a direct attack against Sci-Hub. And if we talk about criticism, then perhaps the most pronounced criticism that I read was about that Sci-Hub. It's like it doesn't really changes the system, so everything continues, just things stay the same. So publishers are not gone anywhere, so Sci-Hub is simply like a workaround that allows you to trick the system, but do not change the system, something like that.
Yeah, I guess the system of publishing and publisher is still the same. I guess you just open some doors, but it's still locked for most people. How are you trying to communicate around Sci-Hub the fact that it exists? Are you trying to spread the information online? Have you talked to the press? Or?
Yeah, I usually agree to interviews when I have time. And of course, I registered Sci-Hub accounts in social media a few years ago. For example, since 2014, Sci-Hub had a Twitter account, but it was banned in 2021. It was blocked on Twitter on 6th of January, and around the same time, so first Sci-Hub was blocked on Twitter, and after a while, Donald Trump was blocked on Twitter. So it really looked like they were blocking Donald Trump to divert attention from Sci-Hub, something like that.
Oh, conspiracy.
Yes, because I would say it happened after that. So academic publishers, they sued Sci-Hub in India, and I posted this news at Twitter, and it was kind of an explosion. So many Indian researchers, they heard about it on Twitter and started to post the criticism of academic publishing, and started to post tweets in support of Sci-Hub and etc. And it became a scandal, and some Indian media wrote about it, and so on and so forth. And 10 days after that, Twitter blocked Sci-Hub account.
Yeah, I suppose you have faced some legal and personal challenges as a result of creating and maintaining Sci-Hub. How do you, what kind of challenges have you faced?
Well, of course, I faced like many lawsuits, but I wouldn't say they were challenging in any way to me, because, for example, while I was residing in Russia, and these lawsuits were happening in the United States. So yes, it happened basically, but it was parallel to my life.
Yeah. I guess they can't force you to face trial or anything like that because you live in another country. And in Russia, there is no issue with Sci-Hub? Or?
Well, actually, academic publishers, they also, like in 2018, they complained to the Russian court, and the court gave a decision that Sci-Hub should be blocked in Russia. And after that, the address sci-hub.se was blocked in Russia. But then I created a new address, sci-hub.ru, basically in a Russian domain zone. And so far, it was not blocked and it's working in Russia. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting and positive on this site. What do you see as the future of open access to scientific research, and how do you think Sci-Hub will work in this context? And maybe before you answer, I would like to read just the Article 27 of the first paragraph of the Universal Declaration, Article 27, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, because people don't know about it, so it's good to read it, I think. So it's everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. So you are probably one of the persons in the world making the most for this. So about the future now.
Okay. So, well, about the future, I think maybe Sci-Hub will have its place in history as a kind of open science revolution that happened, for example, from 2011 to maybe 20 and something. Yeah. And basically the moment when science became open. And whether Sci-Hub will continue to exist as a separate website, well, I think it doesn't really matter, but I have plans, for example, to introduce some artificial intelligence into Sci-Hub code. So basically some big neural network. Sci-Hub currently has like 88 million academic papers in its database. And can you imagine if some artificial intelligence will read this database and make some predictions and inferences? And actually there was some similar research done by IBM in 2014 when they created an artificial intelligence program that were used to read about 70,000 academic papers, and it resulted in discovery of 6 new proteins that is important in research on cancer. And before that innovation, the human researchers usually discovered at most one protein every year. But now it was done in a very short time. But it was only done on 70,000 academic papers. And can you imagine what the results can be if we employ like 80 million, a huge database? Yeah. So it will be like an explosion, in scientific progress.
That was one of the questions we were thinking to ask you, even if it is, we didn't speak about this before. The potential role of AI, or even maybe one day AGI, to explore scientific works. So you have already projects for this. Do you have contacts already or not yet?
No, I don't have contacts. But basically, I was thinking about this since maybe 2014, but I am very slow in implementing that.
Because I think now you can have access to some sort of almost the large language model of Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was leaked, Alpaca or something like that. Yeah, so you could run it. Yeah, I can see the potential, because you could train this AI with all this scientific research and have some sort of ChatGPT just for science, which would be really pretty good.
Well, actually, ChatGPT, I would say, is not pretty new. So even before ChatGPT, the field of automatic question answering was slowly developing, and many companies were using it to automatically answer the requests of their clients and etc. And I was also thinking about implementing something in Sci-Hub like that. You enter some request and Sci-Hub would answer your question using the latest academic knowledge and etc. Yes, but of course, in the last few months, ChatGPT became known. So right now, if you talk to someone about that idea, that will be ChatGPT for science.
And I guess maybe we can also talk about the scientific research in general, because we talked about the scientific papers that are putting distance between the public and students who want to read new research behind a paywall. But do you have any other things to say that are problematic with the scientific research? I'm thinking maybe the replication crisis in social sciences, or like this race to publish at all costs for any scientist today. There is almost this, need to publish as fast as they can, and sometimes they tweak, or they write a paper and they dismiss some result just to make the paper more robust. I think it's called p-value hacking.
Well, my intuition is that all other problems, they arise from the fact that academic research today is not open. So if we solve that problem, then all other problems will automatically resolve after some amount of time.
Yeah.
If I may say, Alexandra, I think one big problem that is not to be solved only with open publication is the fact that negative results are less published. You know that there is no obligation to publish negative results. So when, for example, I know personally about somebody who was testing product for longevity for rats, and the results were not good. So the company who was financing this decided not to publish the results. And also, of course, you think that you will succeed for something and you don't succeed. You don't publish the fact that you don't succeed. So this question is, outside of your direct work, but how do you think it can be solved? The problem of non-publication of most, between brackets, negative results.
I know that some people try to address this problem, and they created something like Journal of Negative Results for publishing such papers. Yeah.
That's good.
Why not to publish some negative result? It doesn't. But I think also the reason is that you get much more negative results than positive ones. In order, result should be something interesting. So even if it's negative, so it should solve some problem. Yeah, and if the result solves some problem for other people, then it should be published, even if the result is not positive.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because we want to learn from our mistakes, and we can't repeat the mistakes if a team of scientists, they don't know an experiment has been done and failed, they might do it again and fail again.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
My next question was, we spoke already a bit about this, but for me, this global evolution of scientific research can be sadly resumed as so many people speak about science as a public good, science, open science, and so on. But many scientists create patents, they create startups, and they are not open. And what do you see added to your great work once again? But what do you see to have real better sharing of scientific knowledge? And do you see that this evolution, like I see it, many things about open science in theory, but not many things practically, and how to try to change this?
We cannot change actions of other people, but of course. But we can do more promotion for the idea of open science and explain why science can work only when it's open, and etc. And we can also create technical tools like Sci-Hub that help people with collaboration and sharing and so on.
Yes. By the way, are there other websites like Sci-Hub?
Yeah.
Or okay, tell us a bit about let's say the other websites going in the same direction.
I would say there is also a Library Genesis website. So it started as a project. They provided free access to scientific books. Yeah. And after that, we started collaboration with Library Genesis. And basically, they also have a copy of all Sci-Hub database of academic papers. And they also provided and also add some new papers as far as I know. Yeah. So if you talk about websites, there is a Library Genesis website and there are also daughter projects to Library Genesis, for example, that library, and so on. But apart from that, there are not many. So basically on the internet, there are also academic communities or forums. You can find them today. You can find them mostly in Chinese, and where people post their requests and ask people, please send me such or such paper. And other members of the community who have access to this document, they will do that. And they will there is a rating system. They will get some points for doing good on the website, and so on, like that.
Yeah, and maybe I'm thinking now about so the best let's say open website of the world concerning sharing of knowledge is probably Wikipedia. And were you already in contact with people from Wikipedia? But I know that Wikipedia, they are very, very careful concerning all legal aspects. So I'm sure they will not want to use data which is not totally legal. But still, were you in contact with people of Wikipedia?
I wasn't in contact, no. Actually, some people contacted me many years ago, but nothing came out of that. So I'm not friends of them or something like that. But I would also add that it's very hard to compare Sci-Hub to Wikipedia. It's completely different project and basically completely different function. And I wouldn't say that Wikipedia is about open knowledge. So yes, it's an encyclopedia, and the function of encyclopedia is maybe to provide short summaries, so everyone can have a quick entry into some topic. But the project that really about open science in its very heart is, of course, Sci-Hub.
Yeah, and I have to say I want to personally thank you, because I use it. I use Sci-Hub. I've used Sci-Hub before. I use it again when I want to research something. I think it's very good for people like me who are not part of academia, but they still want to have access to some scientific papers because they're interesting in the topic and they want to read, what's been said. And sometimes it's hard to find more information on something by a specific scientist online for free, so you have to either buy the book that this scientist has written sometimes, and very often they kind of simplify the ideas they have. So the scientific paper is a great way to do some research on your own, and then for science communicator like me, it's great.
Of course, because also there is a very widespread opinion that only scientists, only researchers should have access to academic journals, but not anyone else. So if you're not a researcher, you don't have credentials, then please get out and you can read some of the popular science websites, some news websites, and etc. But do not get into papers. They're also not for you.
And so now maybe we can talk to a different topic, because you mentioned you were working, and maybe you still are working on brain-machine interfaces. So you're interested in collective intelligence, global brain. What interests you in these topics, and how do you see the future of humanity?
Well, actually, I'm not working in this field, but in 2011, I had an idea that somehow we can develop a brain-machine interface that would connect directly using the internet all people all over the earth in one single big brain. You will have basically not many different brains, but one big like neural network that is spread all over the world. And this like neural network, it will have a really huge like abilities. It will have a really huge knowledge, and it will outperform even any modern artificial intelligence by many times, by billions of times. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're quite sympathetic with transhumanism.
Sure. So that was basically a transhumanistic project, so that we can, as a humans, transform ourselves to a superhuman like organism. But after I talked to other people about that idea, I learned that it was in Star Trek or maybe in Star Wars something called Borg. I don't know. I didn't see that movie. Yeah. But basically they had this idea. Yeah.
It's called the hive mind, usually in science fiction. Yeah.
Yeah, but actually I think hive mind is not a very good term here, because hive mind is more something about, we talk this about primitive animals. So about bees, maybe about ants. Yeah. Yes, but this will be a really a super human godlike intelligence that will know everything.
I get the concept. I've read this kind of thing before, especially in transhumanist talks, and it's almost, I think Rakersville kind of has something like this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like you say, both. Many people, I think, many writers has this idea to connect brains. The difference between now and the past is now it's beginning to be something that we could really do in a not so far future. Yeah.
What was actually very interesting about this global brain is that basically if you connect yourself to this big neural network, then you will basically become immortal. Because you can imagine, so in your brain, individual brain, you have like billions of different neurons, but when some neurons, even maybe thousands of neurons die, but you do not notice it, so you continue your existence. And here you will, your consciousness will spread like over even over the whole planet, over many billions of neurons. And even if your individual brain will at some point in the future will become old and will die, but you basically will continue to exist.
Yeah, this is some sort of transcendence in this, I find.
Yeah, but so far I would say it's still a science fiction. So we do not have a technology yet ready to do this. I know that Elon Musk is now trying to create something like that with Neuralink, but it's not likely that he will succeed because it's like a more complicated task than artificial intelligence.
Sure. And to continue in the domain of, let's say, radical longevity, but a bit less, not in this global brain, but in research for humans to live far more healthy and longer lives. First, are you also interested? I suppose that you are. And second, do you see people who could work with you? And are you in contact with people from open longevity? They have the idea of open longevity is, well, like the name said, to share knowledge concerning medical research related to longevity, and it's first a Russian organization.
I know some people in Russia who are doing like some research on life extension, but basically what they do is they freeze your body after the person dies. Their bodies are frozen. Yeah. So with the hope that in the future they're going to be unfrozen and they can be revived and continue their lives, something like that. And and there is some kind of a discussion about transhumanism, but today it's a little bit like, how to say, a little bit died. If you compare with 2011, of course, there is not so much enthusiasm about transhumanism and longevity right now. And I know also I would say Life Extension Foundation, they contacted me for a couple of interviews about Sci-Hub. So I know them a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't say concerning the life extension. I think that there are more activities now than a few years ago. Concerning transhumanism, probably there is, I don't know for Russia, but in the world in general, probably less interest. But concerning life extension, you have big companies invested like Google Calico, but that's already a few years, like Revolution, like Altos Labs, and Sam Altman also recently, this Sam Altman from OpenAI, so recently decided to invest almost $200 million for this. So I really, in my opinion, it's rising, but like I said, it's rising, but it's rising in a kind of very patented way, very startup way, and I would far prefer your way and the way that Open Longevity see it, more sharing.
Yeah, so what's the funny thing for me here is also that I know that Russian government is also interested in longevity.
Okay, well, I think we've reached the end of this conversation. I don't know if there is anything you want to add. If you want to have a call to action to anyone who is listening, and if you wish we had asked something and we forgot.
No, I think it's okay. I thank you very much for the interesting discussion, and I hope we will stay in contact and maybe exchange ideas about longevity and so on, because I, for example, when I was young, I wanted to be immortal because I collected like a huge collection of books on my computer, and when I calculated, I understood that I will not have enough lifetime to read all of them. But perhaps if you invent something, to tackle that problem, then I can achieve my dream.
Yeah, okay. You are not so old yet, so you have time to reach immortality. We call in the French world, we prefer to use the word immortality because immortality is kind of a religious word. And one more thing before we stop here, I think we should put also on the website, of course, the URL of Sci-Hub, but also the way for people to support you. I suppose it's possible to make donations and so on. This is also important because once again, your work is really important.
Okay. I will send you something, maybe some BTC address or something like that.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much again.
Le podcast
Humain demain.